Hello, and welcome to my final project tutorial upload. In this tutorial, I'll be covering a exploit using Metasploit that I found very interesting. Okay, so two things that we need for this exploit is a Kali virtual machine and a Windows 7 virtual machine. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is open command prompt on our Windows 7 machine and figure out our IP address. So we put ipconfig, and where it says IPv4 address, it should show us our IP address. Here we go. 10.0.0.25. That is our IP address. So if you want, write that down somewhere because this will be useful later on. Okay. So next, let's go to Kali Linux. So in Kali, we have to open a root terminal. To open a root terminal, we have to put our password, of course. That's fine. You put your password in this case. And we want to do an nmap scan on our Windows 7 virtual machine. And I want a detailed nmap scan, so we use SV. This will take a little longer, but it will tell us if we can perform our exploit or not. And that's very important. So let me show you what we have currently to pass the time on our Windows 7 virtual machine. So we have a cute picture of this golden retriever open right now on Internet Explorer. It's nothing functional, just I just wanted to show you because it'll come in handy later on. I have a TST file with a couple of fake passwords, right? Gmail, Wells Fargo, Fastfell, whatever. And we have a enriched text file called FIU that says I love FIU. Even though you don't worry about it. Let's see if it's done. It's not done yet. So this might take a little while, like I said, but it's better than not doing it with SV. Of course, if you already know, if it doesn't matter to you, you don't have to use the SV command. Okay, there we go. So this is a specific port we want to target, port 445. This is what we see here using TCP. Okay, so, and because it has this version, that means it was able to connect perfectly. This means that our exploit will work. Okay, so now let's open Metasploit. So put sudo msf console to open Metasploit. It'll take a little while, but nothing too bad. It'll give us a nice picture at least. Or, I guess this time I didn't. For some reason it included all of that, but shouldn't make a difference, whatever. So let's put use auxiliary. This is basically gonna tell us if our Windows 7 machine, or virtual machine I should say, is vulnerable to the exploit I want to use, which is MS17010. Okay, so in this case we want to put show options. Show options will let us know the specific things that we need to give this auxiliary. It's not really an exploit, for it to work. As we can see, the only required one that we don't already have a value for is our host. So let's set an our host. We put set our host, and because the receiving host that we want to target is our Windows 7 virtual machine, we put the Windows 7 virtual machine IP address in there. It being this. Okay, so now it should be perfect to just click run. And as we can see, it says host is likely vulnerable to MS17. Okay, that's very important because now that means our exploit will most likely work. So let's conduct a specific search with grep exploit search SMB. This will give us all the SMB exploits that Metasploit has. You see, there's multiple software. It doesn't only have to be Windows. It could be Linux or something else. So the specific one we want to use is exploit Windows SMB EternalBlue. It's like specific one you want to use because the one that works the best with the Windows 7 virtual machine. So let's write that. So put use. It's a very logical program. Exploit Windows SMB. Which SMB is the file imprinting. It's like a protocol that is very vulnerable to this type of attack. And the port that deals with that protocol is 445. That's when we're specifically targeting it. So SMB MS17010 Eternal Blue. So as you can see, there's no payload configured, but we have Windows x64 meter Peter reverse TCP, which would be the payload I would use anyway, but I'm going to show you how to set the payload anyway. So let's put show options to see what we have to give it. So once again, the only thing we have to give it is our host. So let's put set our host, and we put the IP address of our Windows 7 virtual machine. And let's also set the payload. So set payload, and basically copy the Windows or the one that Metasploit already gave us. You don't have to do this, but I'm showing you how to do it. Reverse TCP. So in other exploits, you will have to configure an actual payload. In this one, Metasploit already knows which one to put on default, but of course you can use different ones. So set payload. Oh, I made a little mistake. I put payload instead of payload, so we delete that. Perfect. Okay. So now we do show options again. We see that our host is there, and that's stayed the same. So let's run the exploit by using the command exploit. As you can see, it's working. This might take a little bit, but it's worth it. So there we go. It's almost done. The error communication, that doesn't matter because it was able to open the meter Peter section. That's the important thing. So first, let's use the command sysinfo, which will give us all the information of the system. So you can see Windows 7, the build, the service pack, the architecture, everything. Isn't very This isn't very useful information, but information nonetheless. So do PS, and this will tell us all the processes that it has ran. So here you can see where I ran Internet Explorer, and that's just basic stuff that are ran by the virtual machine automatically. So now let's show a better one, which is hash dump. This came up in one of our labs, and as you can see, it gives us 3 usernames with passwords. Here in this case, all the hashes are the same, sadly. So anyway, whatever, let's copy it, right? So I can show you what you could do with this. So you copy these, copy, and let's paste it onto this document. File, and you press save. Whatever. I already had this document because I already did this lab, but whatever. Here you will save, and let me show you what we could use it for. You want to open John or Johnny, either's fine. I like Johnny because it's a little bit more user friendly. And we put open password file, put that, desktop and we put hash 2. Of course, because these are all null passes, they're not real passwords. Johnny will automatically detect that and it will say it's cracked even though it's not cracked. But in other cases where you actually exploit a more sophisticated machine or an actual machine ethically, of course, you'll be able to find and crack the password, which is very important and very powerful. Okay, so let's close Johnny real quick and go back to our root terminal. Okay, so this one is also very cool, which is another meter command, which is screenshot. You might say, screenshot of what? Let me show you. So let's minimize this again and go to the file system and open a root. Okay, let me open it. My bad. Let me do open as root. Put my password in here. And here we can see which one specifically, because I have two. I might have forgotten to delete one. Let's see specifically which one it is. It's a JX. Okay, so JX. Here we can see. Let me delete this one. Delete. Here we can see this is an identical match to our Windows 7 virtual machine. So it basically took a screenshot of the Windows 7 virtual machine, which this could be very powerful if taken at the right time. Let's close that, but leave this open real quick. So let's go back to our root terminal. And let's do another very cool exploit. So you want to go be a Metasploit, put download C, which is the directory, and here make sure you use double backslash so Metasploit can know that you're referring to the Windows directories. So put users vbox user desktop passwords.txt. So what this is basically recording or trying to download is this txt file that we see here. Let me open it real quick so we can see what's inside. And now let's run it. Okay, yeah, see the mistake I did. That's my bad again. And let's delete that. There, perfect. Okay, so minimize this again. And let's check. Let's go to here. File systems, no. Let's open this one. Here we have, then here we can see that password txt. And as we can see, it downloaded the document that was on the desktop. This exploit can be used to download any single file at any directory as long as you know it. Which, using another exploit, which I will show you right now, you could probably find every single file on this and then download it. So maybe somebody has all their passwords stored on a file on their computer just so they don't forget. Boom, you can steal them all. Okay, so let's go back to our root terminal for, no, not open a new one. Just go back to our existing one. And let's do a couple more. So I want to do execute F, so for the file, cmd dot executable I capital H. Okay, so what this just did was basically open a command prompt on our Metasploit. So the same way they would use a command prompt on Windows 7, we are now using it on Kali Linux. So let me show you. Let's put ipconfig, which wouldn't work on our Kali Linux machine because the equivalent command is ifconfig. There we can see, which if we run it on our command prompt here, we will see it gives us the exact same thing. So we basically have a command prompt in our Kali Linux. This is very, very, very powerful. Let me show you why. So let's say this person pissed you off a little. So we see through the screenshot that they have a file called FIU. We don't know what's in it right now. We can of course download it and see what they have. But let's just say we just want to get rid of it. Want to make the day a little worse. So we put delete, and now we use the directory. In this case, because we're using basically the command prompts, as if we're on Windows, we don't have to use the double backslash. So we just put users, vbox user, desktop, FIU, and type of file is RTF. So you see, oh, what happened? What happened? We go back to our Windows 7, boom, the file's gone. So that could be very annoying. Once again, we could do the same. Okay, my bad. So let's put delete. Say we want to delete something else. Let's copy the same thing. We just do per passwords. Vbox user desktop passwords.txt. Boom. And it's gone. Of course, I still have it here, but we deleted it from the desktop, so they had it open before. But if we go now, it's no longer here. It's on desktops, it's on nothing. So they lost the file. So that is basically it for my tutorial. I hope that you enjoyed and learned something new. Thank you and have a good night.